Thank you, everyone, and welcome to Exclusive today. And I get the honor and privilege of being able to interview one of my personal heroes, Mr. Gerald Wolfe of Greater Vision.
Good to see you, friend.
Thank you for doing this with us.
Glad to
This
do
is
it.
just so exciting for me.
Good.
I even had to write down a couple things because
Okay.
I know I'll forget. But tell us, how'd you get started in Southern gospel music?
Well, I grew up in a musical family, so my mom was a church pianist
Okay.
for 60 years.
Wow.
And so I was always involved in church music and actually started as an organist when I was 11 for the church, and then transitioned to piano when I was 14.
Wow.
And a group came to our church and needed a piano player to fill in for the program. So I played for them, and 2 weeks later they hired me, put me on
Wow.
the road. I was 17 then, still in school. So we would go out and the bus would get me back to town early enough on Monday morning so I could make class
Wow.
in my senior year. So I finished out the last 3 months that way.
Now, what was the name of that group?
Dumpling Valley Boys. It's
That was the
legendary.
Dumpling Valley Boys. Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Ron Martin sang with them.
He did.
Wow.
Yep, he was the lead singer.
Kyla Rowland's brother. Wow.
Kyla Rowland's brother. That's
Yes,
right.
I got to meet her a few years ago.
We were always the first group to record any of her new songs.
Oh, wow.
She used our recordings as demos
Okay.
to pitch to other groups. So songs like Damascus Road, that Perry's.
Perrys
Yeah,
did.
we recorded that in '84.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, all those songs. Heavenly Honey, Inspirations, and the Hoppers
Hmm.
did that one.
So that's why on like some of the Rowland's deals I saw on the old cassette tapes, you play piano on
I
there.
did, yeah.
Wow. I had no idea about that. So from there, how was the transition from there to, of course, the legendary Cathedral Quartet?
Well, the cathedrals, I was a big fan of theirs, so I would go see them when we weren't on the road. And we worked with them only one time at the World's Fair site in Knoxville. And so they had a couple of our cassettes on the bus. And Danny Funderburk was listening to one of our cassettes, and Glenn asked him who it was who was playing.
Oh.
And so he told him it was me. Well, Roger Bennett had already told me earlier that year that he was going to be coming off the road. So there was a connection there already. So they
Wow.
called me about 2 weeks before I got married, and I flew to Ohio, and the rest is history. That was in '86.
Wow. And I just got to ask this, though. How did the song Champion of Love just really hit home? How did that come
Well,
about?
it really wasn't written for me. It was actually written for Larnell Harris.
Wow.
And he passed on it. And Larry Goss was his producer at the time. And then it was pitched to Ivan Parker, Gold
okay.
City, and they passed on it. And so Larry brought it to a tracking session that the cathedrals were doing and pitched it to the guys. And George and Glenn thought it was too contemporary sounding for them. So Larry asked me to sing it on the London album. And I wasn't supposed to be singing anything on that album, but he pushed real hard. And so George and Glenn agreed to let him do it. So we did the song on the London album. And that song, Phil Cross says, is the most recorded song that he's ever written. I mean, I've recorded it probably 5 times,
Wow.
in the last 30 years. So,
Amazing. The rest is history.
yeah, that's still, it's still, somebody asked for it tonight.
Wow. How amazing. So from the transition from the cathedrals to the Greater Vision, you went solo in between there, though.
I did. 2 years.
Okay.
I did 100, I did probably 200, 220 solo concerts total, something like that. No, 120. I did 120. And I didn't enjoy that at all. I didn't work as hard, but I don't mind working hard.
Right.
So I didn't like, it was a little boring for me, and probably boring for the audience. So I did 2
I guess
records that
solo
way.
ministry is just different than group.
Yeah, it's a lot more accepted now than it was when I was doing that. I was
It
the
was
only
still-
one. I mean, in our genre,
Right.
the other soloists were in CC contemporary music or inspirational, like Steve Green, Larnell, Carmen.
Well, that's
those
true. Ivan
guys.
Parker had not even
No,
become
no,
so-
I was the only one.
Yes. Wow.
And so it kind of
Was
it
different.
was a different deal. So churches would have me in to sing with their choir,
Okay.
and then I would do concerts on Sunday night. But that was a totally different. Nowadays, I mean, you got
It's
several.
widely,
You got
yes.
Joseph and Jason and
Oh, that's true.
all these. Ivan does great at it. So
That's true. So, Greater Vision, then there was a transition. Mark Trammell. Did Mark Trammell call you?
Mm-hmm. He did.
Or that's what I thought I'd heard in the past.
yep, he
And
did.
So, wow. And so, was there a special thing about Greater Vision actually forming?
No, the Benson Record Company had talked to me about putting a group together, and I was totally against it. And I actually went and I recorded 2 songs. One song I recorded with Michael English and Danny Funderburg, which has never been heard outside the studio. I don't even have a copy of it. Because we recorded it and then went to lunch, and when we came back, the producer had erased it on purpose. Didn't want it out. So that song's never been heard by anybody. And then I did another song with Ernie Haas and Steve Hurst.
Oh, wow.
And it survived the studio. It's actually on Ernie's first solo record.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, the record company talked to me about putting a group together. And I wasn't interested in that. I just didn't want the pressure of that. And so
Right.
that's when Mark called. He just called out of the blue. So,
That's got to be the way God works.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
yeah.
So, tell us now. You've got Greater Vision, the Hymn Sing, Second Half Quartet.
Right.
You're on board with the National Quartet Convention.
Yeah.
How do you do it all? As far as
Well,
that?
I don't mind working, and I don't. I'm not a big fan of sitting much.
That's true.
I do take Mondays off. That's my day to do nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean the phone is off. I sit out on the back porch. People comment. Sometimes I post pictures of the view. And I spend that day doing whatever Donna wants to do, which is great. So I do the NQC board, which we meet, 4 or 5 times a year, other than at the convention. And then I'm on the In Touch board in Atlanta.
Oh, that's true.
I enjoy that, being involved in that ministry. And then I do Gaither's radio show,
Oh, that's true too.
but that only takes 4 days a year because we record 18 shows. when
So
we
it's
get
not
together.
quite as much as you think, as far as all at once.
No,
Some
we
different
only
things.
we do 10 shows one day, 8 shows the next day,
Oh, okay.
and then we're done. And that takes care of part of the year, and then we go back and do 10 and 8. And so that feels up. It doesn't take. We don't spend an hour on each show. We actually spend about 20 minutes
Wow.
doing those. So.
Tell us about your family in general. How
Well,
are they
my
doing?
kids are growing. I mean, my oldest boy is 25 now. He's in Florida.
Oh, okay.
He's in Florida. He's got it made. He's a graphic designer.
I know he's one of the reasons I got interested in
He's a
it.
graphic
So-
designer, and he plays bass for his
The
wife's
Kramers.
family group, the Kramers. So he's in Florida for 3 months during the winter, and then in Illinois the rest of the time. And then they come to see us. Usually every 6 weeks or so, they'll come for a couple of days.
Wow,
But he can work anywhere, as long as he's got his computer.
that's amazing.
But he's really enjoying playing bass with the Kramers. And
Wow.
so they're in Florida. They stay down there for 3 months, and they do concerts all over the state.
Wow. Now, Still came about last year. That was your new recording in 2
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And that's the first one without Mr. Goss doing
First one we had done 2 firsts there. The first Greater Vision album without me singing
that's
on
true.
it.
That's true.
I didn't sing a single note. And then Larry, that was the first one Larry hadn't been involved in I don't know how many years. And so it was hard. So that's why it took longer.
To do.
Yeah. I got Trey involved who's Trey Ivy, who's a good friend of mine, and he's so gifted and
Does a
still
great
developing. And so he came in, and he and I we were on a cruise, gospel music cruise, and every day after lunch, Trey and I would get together with keyboard, and he would work on those arrangements, you know. And he's just brilliant. And then Cody McVeigh did several of the songs. And
I have heard of Cody. Does a great job.
He's great. He's on staff at First Baptist Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
So it's really been just totally different for us because Larry knew what we were going to do. It got to the point with Larry where I knew him so well, he knew me so well, that I would do the tracking session without him involved.
Wow.
And then I would just give it to him, and he would orchestrate it. So
now I've heard y'all could set both of you in a room with a piano, and nobody could really tell the difference.
I've
heard that.
I can tell the difference, and I know he can tell what he could. No, I mean that's a compliment, but I've heard people say that, but I can sure.
But he was a big mentor in your life.
He was. I met him when I was 17. I'd been listening to him before that, but he was the first studio musician I ever met, and then he played at my wedding, and he was just a good friend for a lot of years.
Well, now tell us, one question I always try to ask everyone, when a lot of people come and ask you, how do I get started in Southern gospel music and all this, what advice do you really give them for that or the ministry or even life?
You know, I don't, because every person's doors are different, and
That's true.
I didn't plan it, so it just happened. I was church organist, and a group came to my church, needed a piano player. I didn't go audition. I didn't send out demos. So the doors that the Lord opened for me were unique for me. And same thing with you or anybody else. The doors that the Lord uses, there is no formula. If you could figure it out, it's not God. So
that's true.
There's no formula. So you just have to, I tell people, kids especially, sing every chance you get. You never know who's in the audience. Sing every chance. If you're a player, play every time you get an opportunity. Don't shy away from it. You know, don't act like you're modest. If you're asked to play, play. And the Lord will have the right person in the room at the right time.
Great advice.
When He's ready.
That's true. That's true. It's all about Him, and
yeah.
He'll open the doors.
He will. If you push your own doors open, you won't make it long term.
That's
if you do, you're miserable.
That's probably true.
I'd rather be happy.
Now, of course, Mr. Epley's came in, and now you've transitioned to like pianist, and so has that been different than it has been before?
No, not for me. It's been different for the audience, but that's what I started out doing, playing. So I'm back to where I was.
Wow.
I started out playing, and I would sing maybe one song a night or two, and that's what I'm doing now.
Wow.
So I'll do one or two songs, and the rest of the time I play. So
that works.
I feel like I'm 17.
And people love it because you're still telling stories. And
I still tell stories, yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
great. One final question. I ask everyone this, and some people say it's self-incriminating. I don't know. Let's say God doesn't return this year, and you or me or anyone could go by the grave at any time. What do you really want your life to have said to people you've got to live before, sing before?
When people walk past my tombstone, I want them to say, "Who was that guy?" No. No, if there was only room for one word, I would hope that it would be consistent. The rest of it's irrelevant. If you finish well, you're a winner. And, you know, I would rather, like my dad, who passed away a month ago. As a matter of fact, a month ago today.
Wow.
Though if I could only say one word about him, and there's a lot of words, it's consistent. He was always the same. Didn't matter how he felt, what he was doing, where he was at, what he was going, always the same. And that's what I want people to say about me. If anything, whether they like me or not, if they like the playing or the singing, as long as they can say, well, he wasn't my favorite guy, but he was always the same. That's what
That's true.
That would be, you're a success. I think people can say that.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Mr. Wolfe, for doing this with us. It's been a great honor, and it's been an honor for me. And
Pleasure.
everyone, we'll see you next month on Exclusive.
All right. Thanks.